Hey, good day guys, it's Dad and Mark here today. We're going to explain to you how we installed our new roof rack on top of our Landcruiser.
Yeah, that's pretty good. Good intro, Dad. Well done.
Thank you. Thank you.
And we're going to show them how to do it, and then afterwards we're going to cut back to the camera and explain why we went with that brand and why we went with one in general and why you should as well. Sound good?
Sounds good.
Let's get stuck into it.
Let's do it.
Before we start with the install, it's important to mention that this video is not sponsored, and the RhinoRack system we're using today was purchased with my own money at full retail price. To start off the install, we unbox the 1528 by 1376mm RhinoRack platform so we can change the spacing of the channels that run under the rack. Seeing as we are only using two sets of RL legs, which are the highest mounts RhinoRack make, we only need to adjust the channels on the ends to the specific lengths. Using the torque tool provided, we torqued the bolts down to fix the channels in place. Then we assembled the RL legs to fix onto the platform. Here are a few tips to help you with this process.
So these parts here, they aren't needed because they're for the roof bars. So if you're using roof bars or the vortex bars, whatever they're called, then that's when you need to use these. But we're not using them, so you get this kit instead. And it's like basically a bit of plastic that just sits on top of the RL legs, they're called. So that's pretty much it. And it's just and it's basically like a sandwich plate design. So this big piece goes on the bottom, and then this little piece here is like the channel nut that goes into the bottom of the roof rack. So that's pretty much it. There's not really much else to it. The instructions unfortunately kind of end when you get to tightening down the nuts on the bottom of the platform. So as usual, these roof racks are a little bit annoying to put together, but yeah, that's kind of what we've figured out so far. And then the bottom part here is like a sandwich plate design, so like sandwiches the roof guards, which is the rain guards. So that's pretty handy too. So a little bit complicated to figure out. Not really sure how it's going to go with lining up the roof rack and if I'm putting these too wide if I go all the way to the end, but we'll figure it out as we go. So yeah, at the moment we're just going to be putting that extra little kit on there. It's called a VAFK1, so if you're ordering the RL legs, make sure that you get that kit as well, because otherwise you won't be able to use the platform. Just nicely attach onto there, which is pretty cool. And then we're just going to the end for now, and we'll see how it goes. But we're not really sure how it's going to fit on the actual car just yet. And then you need a 10mm just to tighten it up. If you can find your 10mm.
To install the assembled rack, I first cleaned and used a coat of wax to protect the paint, as we won't have access to this paint again. Then, Dad and I attempted to lift the rack over the front, which was a big mistake, and we ended up calling my brother over to help. We found lifting over the back of the roof was much easier. Once everything was lined up, we tightened the clamps to hold the roof rack in place. We ended up needing to loosen the bolts holding the feet to the platform to center it. We also recommend installing the legs just in front of the seam on the rain channel. Let's discuss a few more helpful hints and tricks and why we chose to install this mod, and more specifically, this brand of rack.
So with the install out of the way, there's a couple of things that Dad and I wanted to mention before we finish off the video. One of them was, we were a little bit surprised by a couple of things. One was probably the paint. It was pretty, we had a tablecloth over the roof just to protect some of the paint where we could, but we didn't obviously protect the side rails and a couple of other painted surfaces. And just when we were lowering down the roof rack, and especially there's like these little metal feet that stick on the outside, and that's a little bit tricky because you have to loosen those plates all the way off if you want to try to get it on, but we didn't. That was probably a mistake. We probably should have taken them off completely, set the rubber feet down on the inside of the rails, and then bolt up the metal plate on the outside.
Yeah.
So with the metal plate, when we lowered it, and this is where it comes to the thin paint, is that we accidentally nicked a couple of parts on the roof and on the guardrail, and it just took the paint away so easily. Honestly, we had my brother helping out, and we didn't even know that we took the paint off until I had a look afterwards. So that was probably one of the main things that kind of shocked me. Not so much about, a little bit of the design with the roof rack, but also it was more to do as well with the paint on the Landcruiser, is that it's surprisingly thin on the roof. Not sure if it's the same. I haven't noticed it anywhere else, but definitely on the roof it's really, really thin.
Yeah, a couple of things to look out for. We found, and as Mark said, that this thing here, when it arrives, is flush up against this. And when we tried to install it, we couldn't open that up to fit, so we had to actually unscrew this whole part, put it back in again so that it's separated, and also to make sure that you have the little rubbers, there's little rubbers in there. Make sure all the rubbers are in place, because that may be what's scratched, with that little scratch up there, maybe. So that's all I'd like to mention at this stage.
So one of the biggest things that we have to cover as well is why we went with the RhinoRack, and this one is the platform, and it's not the Platform 6, because the Platform 6 is a new one. It's like a little bit like thinner. I'm not sure if it's lighter, but it just looks different. We went with this one because it looks a little bit better in my opinion. It's a little bit thicker and suits the design of the 79 better in my opinion. So that's why I went with that. And also this has got the RL legs on it, and the RL legs are like a lot higher than like the slimmer version, and also the backbone, which is how it actually mounts the platform to the roof. And the reason why I went with the RL legs is it's going to match up much better with the height of my canopy. So I figure at least get a little bit of room underneath that platform so I can keep the roof clean. Because I found that when I had the Prado and I had the backbone system on it, it looked cool and it sat flush, but it was like the roof was so filthy when I took that roof rack off and tried to clean it. So so there were a couple of main reasons why we went with this kind of system within the RhinoRack kind of ecosystem. But one of the reasons why we went with the RhinoRack over the front runner was on my last build, which is the Hilux build, I had a tub rack for that. And I purchased a front runner. I thought it would switch it up a little bit. I've been using a lot of RhinoRack in the past, and a lot of other companies have come to the game. So I thought, let's give it a go. Let's try it out, and we'll see what the front runner was like. When the front runner arrived, I made it very obvious in that video as well. This is all my money as well. I bought the car with my money. I bought the roof racks with my money. So I can be critical of them. And the front runner came all dented. Even though it was packaged pretty well, it had lots of dents in it. I found that the aluminium they use was really thin. So every time I tried to tighten something down on it, even like the eyelets that I used to tie my swag and stuff down, I was always denting things. So I wasn't really impressed with the front runner, which is why I didn't go with the front runner again. And price as well is a big reason too, because this cost me $1,300 delivered, whereas the front runner was going to be more like $2,000 delivered. And yes, it's got more legs on it. It's got like another set of legs or something to attach to the roof rack, but I'm not carrying a rooftop tent on top of this thing. So I don't need to spend an extra $800 or $700 on a platform. To me, it just didn't make sense. So I've kind of gone back to the RhinoRack kind of ecosystem, and a big reason again is because I did have it on my old Prado, and I still have some accessories. So I've got like a tie down system for it as well. It uses kind of like a ratchet strap sort of system, which is super easy and it works well. And I've also got some like bat wing awning mounts that I use for my shower tent as well, which I never ended up installing on my Hilux because it wasn't a RhinoRack system. So those are a couple of reasons why I went with the RhinoRack, and I'm sure there's a lot of people out there saying, well, what about this brand and that brand? And for me, I have actually found that the RhinoRack to be a better product, apples for apples, quality wise. I feel like the RhinoRack is a better system in my opinion.
Fair enough.
So one of the last things we wanted to talk about before we leave you guys today is just some finishing thoughts, I guess. One of them was that the mount to hold the legs, I guess, onto the rain channel mount, whatever, onto the rain guard, it kind of doesn't really grip it very well. It's very much a universal system, and the way it sits is just kind of like this small contact point of the metal kind of clamp. And I don't really like it. I really like things to fit flush. I like things to be designed for specific, shapes and for specific areas on specific vehicles. And I feel like that we're not getting that at the moment on this. Is kind of like a small part is contacting it. So that kind of bothered me. You don't really know if it's actually sitting on there right. It is. There's no other way for it to sit on there. It's pretty self-explanatory. But for me, I just kind of felt like they could have done a better job, shaping the clamp to the actual rain channel, and that would have helped kind of seating everything, because it doesn't really sit that great. You really have to tighten it really hard to be able to make it form. Otherwise it catches on the seal of the door. If you don't tighten it hard enough, when you shut the door, it kind of flaps on the side of the clamp. And Dad, you want to talk about? We went for a drive straight after we installed it, and did you want to talk a little bit about the wind noise, because that was something I was a little bit worried about.
Yeah, the wind noise was fine. There's a little bit of wind noise. We didn't get above 80 kilometers an hour, but
True.
So I presume that at 100, you may get a little bit more. But I mean, there's wind noise anywhere in this vehicle, anyhow. So
even with a normal gust,
even with nothing, as it is. So I mean, you know, who cares about wind noise anyway? I mean, we still had a good chat in there. I had no trouble hearing what Mark had to say. We listened to the stereo. So maybe a little bit, but nothing I would actually consider to be a worry.
It wasn't that noisy. Like, it wasn't any more noisy than it is normally. So we were talking, we had, you know, the music going and stuff. Like it actually, you know, it wasn't that noticeable unless we turned everything off and we stopped talking. Like, can we hear anything? Because we wanted to test it out. And there was a little bit of noise because it was pretty windy that night.
It was windy too.
Yeah. So I mean, I would kind of expect, you know, once we got a few more things up there and, you know, the Max Track's up there and a couple other things, that it's probably going to be a little bit noisy again. But I mean, you know, it is what it is. It's not so much where it's like, oh no, I need to talk so much louder. It's not like that at all.
No,
you know,
it's not.
It's like not that noticeable.
No. A couple of things too with it's definitely a 3-man job.
Oh yeah, we haven't mentioned that yet, have we?
No, definitely a 3-man job. I'm not sure. Was it in the video where you went? We did it from the front.
I kind of cut off a section where we couldn't see where to bring it over.
But did you see us? Did you
yeah.
Okay, so we tried to load it on from the front, and I got very unstable because of the weight, and then trying to get
I was trying to get it over the snorkel.
Over the snorkel, and then when you got here, because of the width of the car and the width of the car here, the bonnet is wider than the roof rack, so we started to get off balance.
We've got bar work on the side of this too, so that
exactly.
doesn't help.
So we got my other son, Mark's brother, over, and I went up the back, and we loaded it from the back part, not from the front. So I suggest when you're doing this, do it from the back. Somebody hops up on the tray, takes the weight off,
and then kind of slide it up.
And we just hand it over, because it's only 30 kilos. So between 3 of us, that's like, you know, it's 10 kilos.
It wasn't so much the weight. It was just awkward.
It was awkward. Yeah. And then when I had it at the back, Mark and my other son, they were able to position everything, and it was a lot.
And that's when we scratched it up a little bit
we were
starting to get a bit heavy, and we're trying to find a spot to rest it on the gutter.
That's right, and it could have been me that actually scratched it by mistake.
No, it doesn't matter. And we tried to as well, like, get the adjustment right, so it ended up being about like 15 mil on each side in from where the legs actually mount up to, and that made it sit pretty much perfect. If you work off that, if you're using the exact same setup, if you work off 15 mil on each side to kind of center it a little bit better, because what we found was when we tried to put it on the rain guard on the channel, it was way off. It was off by a good 30 mil, so we had to move 15 mil on both sides of the legs, and that centered it perfectly. So that was kind of our magic number, was that 15 mil from memory.
That's right. Another thing too is make sure you take off the ladder mounts on the top of the what do you call this, Mark?
Oh yeah, on the ladder rack.
The ladder rack.
So I have these little pegs, and it helps keep on the side of the ladder rack, and that helps keep if you're using it for whatever, kayaks or ladders or whatever, it helps to keep them on that rack without sliding off it. So
take them off.
Yeah, so we had to take them off because obviously that's an extra whatever, you gotta lift it 200 mil that we had to try to lift it up over.
Other than that, I mean,
pretty straightforward.
Job well done, and the car actually sits and rides a lot better. I don't know why, because there's only 30 kilos on top there, but I find that it just rides a lot smoother with that weight on top, and it does not feel unstable.
No. These things love the weight, like everything that we've put on it, everything from the bar work to, even like everything adds weight, like the extra consoles we've been putting in, the extra speaker stuff, now the roof rack, it just seems to just love the extra weight. So, I mean, these things are designed to hold weight, so
that's right.
Be interesting to see how it goes once I get the canopy on there, to see if it see if it holds up, or
Yeah.
see if maybe I need to upgrade suspension. Yeah, but we'll see how it goes. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, but yeah, anyway, that's pretty much it, guys.
Yep.
Yeah, thank you for joining us, and make sure that you thank Dad down in the comments section for joining us for today's video. We couldn't have put the roof rack on there without him, so we do appreciate you, and also my brother as well for helping out too. So, bit of a team effort from the Fernandez boys.
Yep.
But yeah, apart from that, guys, we're pretty happy. Oh, we didn't mention as well that how good it looks too. It looks
great.
Yeah, it just kind of fills in that kind of weird little space, and I knew it was going to look weird if we have that canopy sitting up there with the rooftop tent on top of the canopy. It's going to be like this big void in front of it where the roof is. And I knew that we had to have something on there, so that's kind of a bit of the reason. It's a little bit, but it's a little bit how you going. But we put the roof rack on there as well, just to fill up that gap. And it also, if you want to install a roof rack yourself, and kind of the reason why we did it as well is to have a little bit of extra space for a shower awning, so that I can run a shower to that awning when I'm going remote. And also, I will have my friend or friends joining me when I'm going camping, and I have my rooftop tent, but I'll be able to put their swag or swags. If I have my family coming as well, I can put all that on because I won't have the canopy to put it on. I'll be able to put their stuff on the rooftop, on the roof rack as well. So it's just that extra space, that you don't want to be putting things in your canopy for. It kind of spreads the weight out a little bit more too. That was something that we probably could have mentioned, is that if you have all the swags and all your max tracks and all your recovery gear, if you have all that in the back of the canopy, it's going to increase that weight behind the rear axle. So it does, it does have a good purpose. For those of you out there that are like, oh, is it just for looks? Well, it's a little bit of everything. It's a little bit of for looks. It's also easy carrying of things like max tracks and other dirty equipment, but it's also great to carry other heavy things and take that load. You'll be surprised, it adds up, a couple of swags ends up being 20, 30 kilos, so even just like things like muddy max tracks, you know what I mean? So getting all that weight as far forward from that rear axle is always beneficial. So those are kind of like the last things that, I'm sure there's more things that we'll remember, but those were kind of like the main things we just wanted to talk to you guys about as to why we chose the brand of this one. Again, not sponsored, but that's why we chose the brand, our experience of installing it, and why you might want to do that for your own vehicles, Landcruisers, whatever it might be. So yeah, apart from that, guys, thank you for joining us. We had a great time. We had a great day and night also testing it out to see what it was like in the wind, and it was good to report back to you guys, and it's always fun being able to do some mods with my family. So yeah.
Likewise.
Yeah, good times. So guys, we'll leave it there. We've got some more canopy stuff coming your way as well, with the rear of the canopy being finished off in the coming episodes. So make sure you stick around for that, because then we've got the fit out for that too. All right, all that said and done, thanks for joining us, and we'll see you in the next one.
See you next time.
I hit my funny bone.
Tell me when you're ready.
All right, I'm ready. Here we go, solid test here. Oh yes, that's moving the entire thing.
Pretty solid.
Oh jeez.
Yeah, that's solid.
Yeah.